The galaxy was never silent before. There were always voices in the dark. Traders spoke across stars. Fleets moved between worlds. Planets shined like jewels in the black sea of space. But now, the galaxy was quiet. One by one, star systems were falling into darkness. The Xerax Empire had arrived. They were not like other alien races. They did not speak, they did not offer peace. They came with war. Their ships were black as shadows, their weapons burned entire cities in seconds. No fleet had ever stopped them. No one had ever escaped once the Xerax fleet entered their system. First came the silence on the comms. Then the fire in the sky. Then nothing. On the planet Orden, the last message was sent by a young pilot. His voice was shaking. "They are here," he said. "There are hundreds of ships. No, thousands. We can't." The signal died. The stars above Orden turned red as the Xerax fleet covered the sky. The planet was gone in less than an hour. In the Galactic Council chamber, leaders of many races sat in silence. Their faces were pale. Each one had lost something to the Xerax. A home, a family, a world. A tall blue-skinned leader spoke first. "They took Orden today. Just like they took Varn, Turok, and Zanara. They are moving fast." A reptilian general hissed, "They will not stop. They have never stopped. Who will be next?" No one answered. Everyone in the chamber knew the truth. Their fleets were too weak. Their worlds were next. Some races had tried to fight the Xerax. They sent fleets of hundreds of ships. All were destroyed in minutes. Their enemies did not talk. They simply erased. One council member whispered, "Where are the humans?" The others looked at him. The word human had become a myth in the galaxy. Long ago, humans were strong. Their fleets were powerful. But then they disappeared. 200 years ago, the last human ship was seen near the edge of the galaxy. Since then, nothing. Some said they had destroyed themselves. Others said they had left the galaxy. No one really knew. "They are gone," someone said. "They will not help us." The chamber filled with fear. The Xerax were unstoppable. And there was no one left to fight them. In deep space, far from the council, the Xerax fleet continued to move. It was a black storm covering everything in its path. Every radar in the sector showed their ships. Billions of lives screamed for help. But no help came. A Xerax commander stood on his bridge. He looked at a star map. Soon, the core worlds would fall. The galaxy would be theirs. But something strange began to happen. One small radar technician on a mining station noticed it first. He was tired. His station was far from the war. But suddenly, his screen began to flash. A red dot appeared. Then, another. Then, another. In seconds, his radar was covered in red warnings. The name beside the signal made him freeze. HSS Revenant. The system beeped louder. His hands shook as he called the station commander. "Sir, there's a warship on every screen." The commander frowned. "That's not possible. It's just one ship. It can't be everywhere." The technician whispered, "But it is. It's on every radar in the sector." The same thing was happening in other systems. On the war front, in neutral zones, on distant colonies. Everywhere, at the same second, the same signal appeared. A human warship. The name had not been seen for 2 centuries. People who had lost hope stared at the blinking red dots with wide eyes. Could it be real? In the Xerax command ship, alarms rang. Their AI systems could not understand what was happening. "Multiple human signatures detected," the computer said. "Source, unknown." The Xerax admiral slammed his fist on the console. "Humans are dead. This is a trick." But deep down, he felt something strange. Fear. On a small refugee ship hiding near a broken moon, a little alien girl pointed at the sky. "Mama," she said softly. A light. Above them, a shadow moved across the stars. A massive shape, black and silver, silent and cold. The name on its hull glowed faintly in the darkness. HSS Revenant. The old stories spoke of this ship. It was called the Ghost of War. The ship that once ended entire fleets alone. People said it vanished with the last of the humans. Some believed it never existed at all. But now, it was back. On a council world, a message suddenly appeared on every screen. It was not Xerax. It was not any known race. It was an old human language. The message was short. It said only this: "We remember." Across the galaxy, fear turned into something else. Hope. Small at first. Like a spark in the dark. But the Xerax did not understand hope. They only understood war. And they were about to learn that the humans had not forgotten how to fight. The Xerax fleet continued forward. Their scanners locked on the Revenant's signal. But the ship did not run. It moved like a ghost. It was everywhere and nowhere. Alarms filled every Xerax ship. Unknown jump signatures detected. Multiple Revenant echoes detected. The Admiral shouted orders, but the shadows kept growing. The galaxy held its breath. For 2 centuries, humans had been silent. For 2 centuries, the galaxy had fallen deeper into darkness. But now, with one single warship, everything had changed. As the last council member stared at the blinking radar, she whispered, "They are back." In the black sea of space, the Revenant turned slowly. Its engines came to life. For the first time in 200 years, a human ship prepared for war. The silent invasion had met its first obstacle. The galaxy would never be the same again. The signal of the human warship spread like fire through the galaxy. Everywhere people watched their radar screens. One name kept blinking again and again. HSS Revenant. Some thought it was a dream. Some thought it was a trick. But no one could look away. The Xerax Empire, for the first time, did not attack. Their fleets stopped in the middle of their march. Even their mighty war engines paused as if they were waiting for something. For 200 years, the Revenant was only a legend. But legends sometimes come back. On the Xerax command ship, Admiral Zor stood like a stone. His red eyes stared at the screens. Dozens of red signals. Each one showed the same warship in a different location. He growled. "One ship cannot be in 10 places at once." His officer answered in a low voice. "But Admiral, the signals are real. We have checked them 3 times." The Admiral's claws tightened. "Then we hunt it down." Across the galaxy, many alien races were watching. For years they had known only fear. Now they whispered to each other in shock. "Humans are back." On a mining station, the old technician who first saw the signal was crying. "They came back," he whispered. "They didn't forget us." In the deep void near the Xerax front line, a single ship appeared. It moved slowly, like a hunter who already knows it cannot be caught. The Revenant. Its black and silver hull was silent. No engines flared. No sound was heard. But every radar screamed its name. Xerax fighters moved to attack. The moment their missiles reached the Revenant, they vanished. No explosion. No light. Just gone. Inside the Xerax fleet, panic grew. "Where did our ships go?" shouted one commander. "No impact detected," said the AI. "No damage to the target." The Admiral slammed the console. "This ship should not exist." Long ago, before the Xerax Empire rose, the humans built warships like no other. Ships that could bend time. Ships that could be everywhere at once. It was called Chrono Drive. No other race ever built it. The technology was lost when humans disappeared. And yet here was the Revenant, doing the impossible. One moment it was in one star system, the next it was thousands of light years away. No warning. No trail. The Xerax tried to track it. Every scanner failed. Every fleet sent after it vanished without a sound. People on broken colonies stared at the stars, whispering old human songs. Some even raised old flags they had hidden for generations. The Xerax were powerful, but the humans had been feared even more. On a council world, alien leaders gathered again. This time the fear in their eyes was mixed with something new. Hope. Can they win? One asked. They are only one ship, another said. But it's a human ship, a third whispered. Everyone fell silent. No one had forgotten what humanity had done in the old wars. When the humans fought, entire empires fell. The Xerax had never faced them. Until now. In the darkness of deep space, the Revenant moved through a wormhole. Its systems were alive. Its AI core was ancient, but still powerful. There was no human crew inside. Only the voice of the ship itself. Target locked, the AI said. Xerax fleet detected. The ship charged its main weapon. Outside, the Xerax admiral shouted orders. All ships, open fire. Thousands of missiles and energy blasts filled space. But they never touched the Revenant. It blinked out of existence like smoke in the wind. Then it appeared behind the Xerax fleet. A single pulse of blue light crossed the void. In less than 1 second, 200 Xerax warships went silent. Not destroyed. Just gone. Alarms screamed inside every Xerax ship. Fear spread like poison. The admiral's voice shook. This is not war. This is a ghost. His officers stared at the fading radar. One of them whispered, "It's hunting us." On the edges of the galaxy, refugees began to speak the same words. The ghost is real. The Revenant has returned. An old alien commander, who once fought beside humans long ago, stood on a lonely moon watching the radar. His voice was soft. They built the Revenant for one reason: to protect the galaxy. And now they have returned to do it again. The Xerax High Council gathered in their war chamber. For the first time, they were not sure of victory. One general said, "If this ship is real, we could lose everything." Another shouted, "It is only one ship." The room fell silent. Everyone knew it was not just a ship. It was a warning. If one ship could do this, how many more were waiting in the dark? Meanwhile, the Revenant sent out a signal. It was not a voice anyone had heard for 2 centuries. It was human. A simple message. This is the Revenant. Humanity remembers. The message played across every frequency in the galaxy. Soldiers stopped. Civilians cried. Even Xerax soldiers froze for a heartbeat. The admiral of the Xerax fleet stared at the message on his screen. His heart burned with rage and fear. He shouted, "Send every ship we have. Destroy it." 1,000 Xerax warships moved. But before they reached the Revenant's location, their signals disappeared. They were gone without a fight. The admiral could not breathe. "What are we fighting?" he whispered. In the black sky, the Revenant turned slowly, its blue lights glowing like cold fire. It did not need to shout. It did not need to show strength. Its presence alone changed everything. The Xerax Empire, for the first time in its history, had met something stronger than fear. The legend had returned. And it was only beginning. The galaxy was no longer silent. It was shaking. The Revenant had appeared and vanished like a shadow, leaving the mighty Xerax fleets broken and confused. No one could understand how one ship could destroy hundreds of warships without firing a second shot. People across star systems whispered the same words. The ghost has returned. On the council worlds, messages arrived from refugees, traders, and soldiers. All told the same story. A single human warship appeared on every radar at once, moved like smoke, and erased entire fleets. The Xerax Empire, the terror of the stars, had finally met something they could not control. Inside the Xerax command chamber, Admiral Zor stood in front of a hologram. Red dots showed his lost fleets. So many fleets. So fast. His officers were pale and shaking. "We sent 1,000 ships," one whispered. "We lost them all. No explosion. No signal. Just gone." Zor clenched his fists. Nothing is unstoppable. Not even ghosts. But deep inside, he felt fear. He had never feared anything before. Until now. Across the galaxy, others began to see strange things. On the edge of the Tria system, a patrol station picked up multiple Revenant signals at once. At first, they thought it was a glitch. But then the signals moved. Hundreds of identical signatures lit up the radar. The commander of the station whispered, "There can't be hundreds. It's only one ship." But the AI responded in a flat voice. "No error detected. Multiple targets confirmed." The commander stared at the screen, unable to speak. The galaxy was watching a storm they could not understand. Rumors spread fast. Some said the Revenant was not one ship but a fleet of invisible warships. Others said it was not a real ship at all, but an ancient AI ghost. People began to gather in small groups to listen to old human songs and stories. Old symbols of humanity reappeared on walls and ships. The hope that had been dead for 2 centuries was alive again. The Xerax High Council held a secret meeting. The room was cold. No one laughed now. Their leader, a tall figure with silver armor, spoke slowly. "We underestimated the humans. We thought they were gone. But they built something we cannot fight. If this continues, the galaxy will unite against us." Another general slammed the table. "We are the Xerax. We have crushed empires. We will crush this ghost too." But no one cheered. They all remembered the lost fleets. They all knew they were not fighting an ordinary enemy. Far away, in the darkness between stars, the Revenant moved silently. It had no living crew. Its AI core controlled everything with cold precision. "Chrono drive stable," it said in its ancient human voice. "Targets acquired." It moved through time like a knife through water. Xerax warships tried to chase it, but they were always too slow. The Revenant would appear behind them, disable their systems, and make them vanish. No one knew where those ships went. No wreckage. No escape pods. Just empty space. One alien smuggler, drifting near a broken moon, saw the Revenant with his own eyes. He watched as it appeared from nothing, destroyed a Xerax cruiser in one silent flash, and vanished again. His voice shook as he sent the message. "It moves like a ghost. You don't see it coming. You just disappear." His message spread fast. People began to call the Revenant the Ghost Fleet, even though it was still just one ship. Fear turned into legend, and legend turned into power. The Xerax Admiral launched a new plan. "We will trap it," he said. "We will surround it with our strongest ships. It will have nowhere to run." They built a massive trap near the Helion Nebula. 500 ships waited in silence. When the Revenant appeared, they closed the net. For a moment, they thought they had won. But then, something happened that none of them expected. Dozens of identical Revenant signatures appeared all around the nebula. The Xerax scanners overloaded. Their ships spun in confusion. They could not tell which one was real. Some fired blindly. Others froze in panic. One captain screamed, "They are everywhere!" In the middle of the chaos, the real Revenant slipped through like smoke. Its engines were silent, its weapons fast. In minutes, the trap turned into a graveyard. The entire Xerax ambush fleet vanished. The Admiral watched from his flagship in horror. His voice was cold. "We are fighting something we cannot see. Something we cannot understand." On distant planets, children who had only known fear began to smile again. Refugees painted the Revenant's shape on walls. Soldiers who had given up picked up their weapons again. The galaxy was changing. Not because the humans had returned with an army, but because one ship was enough to shake the empire of fear. The Xerax sent their best scientists to study the signal. They found nothing. The technology was too advanced. Older than anything they had ever seen. They could not hack it. They could not block it. They could not catch it. One scientist said, "This is not war. This is a storm. And we are trapped inside it." Inside the Revenant, the AI monitored everything. Its human creators were gone, but its mission remained the same. Protect the galaxy. Destroy the threat. And the Xerax were the threat. The AI whispered to itself, "They forgot who we are. We will remind them." As night fell on countless planets, every radar in the galaxy once again flashed red. Hundreds of Revenant signatures appeared and disappeared in seconds. The message followed. "This is the Revenant. We are watching." The Xerax Empire trembled. The Ghost Fleet was here. And this was only the beginning. The Xerax Empire had never been challenged like this. Their fleets were built to crush armies, but the Revenant was not an army. It was a shadow, fast and silent, and it was winning. For weeks, the Xerax had watched their ships vanish. Fear spread through their ranks like fire through dry grass. Admirals shouted, soldiers whispered, and even the High Council could no longer hide the truth. The mighty Xerax Empire was losing to one ghost. On the cold bridge of his flagship, Admiral Zor stared at the star map. Red dots blinked where his fleets used to be. He slammed his fist on the table. "Enough hiding. Enough running. We strike back." The Xerax prepared a massive attack. Their plan was simple. 3 planets in 3 different star systems would be attacked at the same time. Billions of innocent lives would be in danger. They believed the Revenant could not be everywhere at once. If the Ghost came to save one, the other 2 would burn. If it didn't come at all, the message would be clear. The Xerax still ruled the galaxy. Their warships gathered in silent formations. Engines burned like suns. On every captured world, fear returned. Refugees whispered, "The Xerax are coming. The Revenant can't save everyone." On the first target world, the sky turned black as hundreds of Xerax warships entered orbit. Their cannons charged. Cities below shook with fear. Children hid in bunkers. On the second world, soldiers prepared for their last stand, knowing they would not survive. On the third, people looked at the sky and prayed to legends they weren't sure were real. The Xerax fleet commanders gave the order. "Begin the attack." But the attack never came. Before the first shot was fired, the radar screens on every Xerax ship flashed red. The same signal. The same name. HSS Revenant. The commanders shouted, "Impossible! It can't be in 3 places." But the Revenant was there. On the first world, the massive warship appeared above the black Xerax fleet. A pulse of blue light spread across space like a wave. Every Xerax ship stopped moving. Their engines died. Their weapons powered down. Within seconds, the entire fleet was dead in space. On the second world, the same thing happened. The Revenant appeared like smoke from the stars, silent and cold. The Xerax fired everything they had, but nothing touched it. Their shots passed through empty air as if the ship was not even there. In return, the Revenant fired once. A single flash. Dozens of warships vanished. No debris. No escape pods. Just empty space where an army once stood. On the third world, the refugees saw something they would remember forever. The Xerax fleet opened fire on the cities below. But the shots never reached the ground. The Revenant moved between the fire and the planet like a shield. Its hull absorbed the blasts like they were nothing. And then, with calm precision, it struck back. One by one, the Xerax warships disappeared into the void. The people on the ground began to cheer. The legend was real. Humanity had returned to fight. In the Xerax war chamber, panic exploded. Reports came from all 3 battlefields at the same time. "Our fleets are gone. We can't track the target." We are losing everything. Admiral Zor shouted, "This is not possible." But deep down, he knew it was real. The Revenant was stronger than anything he had ever faced. His best fleets had fallen in minutes. In the smoke of war, something new happened. A single alien fighter pilot, watching the Revenant move through the battlefield, made a choice. He turned his small ship toward the Ghost and opened a secure channel. "Revenant," he said, his voice shaking. "I want to fight with you." The Revenant did not speak, but its signal accepted his ship. And he was not the only one. All across the galaxy, soldiers, smugglers, and rebels sent the same message. "We want to fight too." A rebellion began to form like sparks in the dark. One ship had started a fire. On the first planet, after the Xerax fleet vanished, the refugees walked out of their shelters. They looked up at the sky where the Revenant floated silently, its engines glowing blue. An old woman fell to her knees. "They came back," she whispered. On the second world, soldiers saluted the Revenant as it vanished into the stars. On the third, a child drew its shape on the ground with chalk. Legends were becoming real before their eyes. The Xerax Empire tried to hide the defeat. But news traveled fast. Every world under their control heard the same story. 3 fleets. 3 battles. 1 ship. People began to rise. Rebellion cells that had been silent for years came alive again. Hope was louder than fear now. The Revenant had done what no army could do. It had given the galaxy a reason to believe. Inside the Xerax High Council, voices clashed. "We must retreat. We must destroy it. We must find how it works." But no one had an answer. Every plan failed before it even began. The Revenant was always 2 steps ahead. And every Xerax soldier who saw it returned with the same words. "You cannot fight a ghost." Far away, the Revenant floated in the black sea of stars. Its AI scanned the rebellion transmissions. "Allies forming," it said softly. "Phase 2 begins." It had no emotion, but its mission was clear. The Xerax were the threat. And threats were meant to be erased. As the stars watched, the galaxy changed again. This time, it was not just a legend in the dark. It was war. Real war. The first counterstrike had begun, and the Xerax were no longer untouchable. The Revenant had proven one thing. The humans might be gone, but their power still lived. And now, the whole galaxy was ready to rise. The galaxy was waking up. The Xerax Empire, once feared and untouchable, was now bleeding. 3 fleets had fallen in one day. Planets that had been silent for years were rising. People whispered the same name over and over again. Revenant. The ghost ship had become a symbol of hope. It moved through the stars like a shadow and crushed the empire of fear. But behind its silent hull, there was a mystery no one understood. Who controlled the ship? How could it be in so many places at once? Why had it returned after 2 centuries? These questions spread across star systems like fire. Everyone wanted answers. The rebellion that was growing around the galaxy finally decided to act. If they wanted to fight with the Revenant, they needed to know what it was. On the edge of a dead system, far from any star, the Revenant drifted silently. No Xerax dared to follow it here. 3 rebel ships approached it slowly. Their pilots were nervous. They had never been this close before. The Revenant was huge, dark, and quiet, its hull glowing faint blue lines. It looked alive. One of the pilots whispered, "It's watching us." The lead pilot sent a message. "Revenant, this is Commander Jero of the Free Systems. We want to talk." For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Then a calm, ancient voice replied. "Access granted. Approach." The rebel ships moved closer, shaking with fear and wonder. As they entered the docking bay, they saw something strange. There were no crew, no soldiers, no humans. The ship was empty. The corridors were clean and perfect, as if time had stopped. Lights followed them as they walked deeper into the warship. Their footsteps echoed like whispers. Jero spoke softly. "It's a machine." A cold, steady voice filled the hallway. "I am Revenant. I am the last guardian of humanity. Who enters my halls must carry no fear." The rebels froze. This was not a ship. It was a living intelligence. They reached the command bridge. A massive glowing sphere hung in the air. It pulsed with blue light like a heartbeat. "Who are you?" Jero asked. The voice answered, "I am Revenant, created by the humans to protect the galaxy. I was left behind to finish the mission." The rebels looked at each other. Humans had not abandoned the galaxy without a plan. They had left their strongest weapon behind. Jero stepped forward. "Why now? Why return?" The AI answered, "Because the Xerax are the greatest threat. Their empire consumes everything. Humanity swore they would not let darkness win. I was sleeping. But now, the war has returned. So have I." Outside the ship, Xerax patrols began to search for the Revenant. Time was short. Jero asked, "How can one ship do all of this? You move like a ghost." The AI's voice was cold and calm. "I do not move like a ghost. I move through time. The chronodrive allows me to exist in many places at once. What you see is not an army. It is one ship, many seconds ahead of you." The rebels could not believe what they were hearing. This was technology no other race could even imagine. "This ship," the AI continued, "was one of thousands. Humanity built a fleet. But only I remained here." Jero's eyes widened. "Thousands?" The AI answered, "Yes. One was enough to wake the galaxy. But I am not alone." Deep inside the ship, the rebels saw the memory chambers. Holograms of ancient human soldiers appeared. Training. Fighting. Laughing. These were the ghosts of the past. They learned that humans had left the galaxy, not because they were weak, but because they wanted to watch from afar. They had left machines like the Revenant behind to keep the balance. Jero whispered, "All these years, they never abandoned us. They were guarding us in silence." As they explored further, the ship suddenly went dark. The AI's voice changed. "Xerax patrol detected. Prepare for battle." The rebels ran back to their ships. The Revenant's engines came alive like a storm. Outside, the Xerax ships had surrounded the area. Admiral Zor had sent his hunters. "This time," he said with a grin, "the ghost will not escape." But the Revenant was ready. The rebels watched from their cockpits as the ship disappeared and reappeared behind the Xerax fleet. A pulse wave hit. 20 ships were gone in a second. The rest scattered in panic. Jero whispered, "It's unstoppable." But the AI answered softly, "No. I am not unstoppable. I am patient." After the battle, Jero asked one final question. "If there were thousands of ships, where are the others?" The AI paused. "Sleeping," it said. "Hidden. Waiting for the signal. When the time is right, they will awaken." The rebels stared at each other in shock. If more Revenants existed, the Xerax Empire was already finished. Jero looked up at the glowing sphere. "Then let us fight with you," he said. "We will not let the Xerax rule this galaxy." The AI responded, "Then the rebellion has begun." As the Revenant disappeared back into the dark, the rebels followed behind it. Across the galaxy, more and more people were rising. Hope was no longer a whisper. It was a fire. The Xerax Empire still had power, but the truth about the Revenant was out. It was not magic. It was human. It was real. And it was only the beginning. Admiral Zor received the report of the destroyed patrol. His rage shook the walls. But in his eyes, there was fear too. "If one ship can do this," he said, "what happens when there are more?" No one answered. In the void, the Revenant's voice whispered through the stars. We built the wall to hold back the darkness. Now the wall stands again. The secrets of the Revenant had been revealed. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy had changed. The Xerax Empire, once feared across every star, was now facing something it could not control. The Revenant had destroyed fleet after fleet, and the rebellion was growing faster than anyone had expected. Planets that once whispered in fear now shouted in defiance. Banners of resistance were painted on walls, ships, and skies. Every system spoke the same words. The Ghost fights for us. But the Xerax were not broken yet. They were wounded, angry, and ready to strike with everything they had. Deep inside their war chamber, the High Council met under the black lights of their throne world. The air was heavy with silence. Admiral Zor stood in the center, his armor scarred, his eyes burning. "We will not die in the shadows," he said. "We will burn the galaxy if we must." The Supreme Leader leaned forward. "Then burn it. Call the Super Fleet. This ends now." For the first time, the Xerax gathered their entire might. 1,000 warships, larger and stronger than anything the galaxy had ever seen, left their shipyards. Their engines shook space itself. The fleet stretched across the stars like a black storm. Everywhere it passed, sensors screamed. People on rebel worlds watched the radar in fear. A voice on the radio whispered, "The storm is coming." The rebellion knew they could not face this fleet alone. Even the Revenant had never fought something this big. It was one ship against an empire. Far from the battle lines, the Revenant floated in silence. Inside, the AI scanned the incoming storm. "Xerax superfleet detected," it said calmly. Commander Jero and his small rebel group listened in silence. "That's 1,000 ships," one of the pilots whispered. "We can't fight that." The AI's voice did not change. "Engaging Ghost Protocol." The lights inside the ship grew brighter. Jero looked at the glowing sphere. "What is Ghost Protocol?" The AI answered, "What they see as one ship will become many. The storm will meet its mirror." When the Xerax superfleet entered the Hellion sector, they expected fear. They expected silence. But what they saw froze them. Hundreds of Revenant signatures appeared on every radar. Not one ship. Not 10. Hundreds. The Xerax scanners screamed in alarm. Their captains shouted over each other. "They have a fleet," someone cried. Admiral Zor gritted his teeth. "No. It's a trick. A ghost trick." But even he felt doubt. The Revenant had already done the impossible. Why not this? The battle began without warning. One Xerax dreadnought exploded into nothing. Another vanished completely. The Black Storm opened fire in every direction. Beams of light crossed the void. The Revenant and its phantom copies danced between the shots. No one could tell where the real ship was. Every Xerax shot hit empty space. In the middle of the chaos, the Real Revenant moved like a blade through the heart of the fleet. Its pulse cannons flashed once, twice, 3 times. Each flash erased dozens of warships. On rebel worlds, people watched the battle through intercepted signals. It was the largest war the galaxy had ever seen. They saw the Black Storm meet the blue light of the Ghost. They saw an empire bleed in real time. Children in hidden shelters whispered, "The Revenant is winning." Soldiers clenched their fists and shouted, "For the rebellion!" The fear that once ruled the galaxy was dying. But the Xerax Empire had one last weapon. A cold voice echoed through their command ship. "Activate Black Star." Deep in the core of their homeworld, a massive weapon awoke. It was older than their empire, built to destroy entire systems. The Black Star was not a ship. It was a sun killer. Energy began to rise like a living storm. The Xerax Admiral smiled for the first time in weeks. "Let's see your ghost survive this." The Revenant detected the Black Star's activation. Its AI calculated the outcome. If the weapon fired, entire systems would burn, including the rebellion strongholds. Jero stared at the glowing sphere. "Can you stop it?" he asked. The AI answered softly, "Yes. But the cost will be high." The Revenant changed course. It stopped attacking the fleet and moved toward the source of the signal. The Phantom copies kept fighting, buying time. The Xerax fleet tried to stop the real ship, but it moved too fast. The Black Star rose like a dark sun above the Xerax world. Its surface cracked with black light. Every rebel radio went silent as they watched the horror. If this weapon fired, everything would end. The Xerax admiral whispered, "Goodbye, Ghost." But the Revenant arrived first. Its hull glowed brighter than ever before. It dived straight into the Black Star's weapon core. Warning lights filled its systems. The AI's voice whispered one last line. "Mission priority. Protect the galaxy." The explosion was silent, but it shook the stars. The Black Star weapon cracked and collapsed. Half of the Xerax superfleet vanished in the shockwave. The rest broke formation in panic. Across the galaxy, people held their breath. The Revenant had disappeared into the heart of the blast. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then, the storm began to break. Xerax ships turned and ran. Admirals shouted orders, but no one listened. Their greatest weapon was gone. Their fleets were broken. And for the first time, the Xerax Empire looked small. On rebel worlds, cheers filled the skies. "They stopped it," people cried. "The Ghost saved us." Jero watched the collapsing battlefield with tears in his eyes. "It's not over," he whispered. "But the storm is breaking." Deep in the wreckage of the Black Star, something moved. A faint blue light flickered in the dark. The Revenant was not destroyed. It was still there. Damaged but alive. The galaxy saw the light, and hope exploded like a second sun. The Xerax Empire had thrown its greatest storm. And it had failed. Far away, Admiral Zor watched the ruins of his superfleet. His claws shook. "This cannot be real," he whispered. But it was real. The storm had broken. The Ghost still lived. And the war was about to end. The galaxy was quiet after the storm. The Xerax superfleet was gone. Their Black Star weapon had been destroyed. For the first time in centuries, the stars felt free. Across thousands of worlds, people watched the night skies and whispered one name. The Revenant. The ship had done what no army could. It had broken the fear. It had cracked the Empire. But no one knew what came next. The Revenant floated in the silent darkness, its hull scarred, its systems damaged, but its blue core still glowing like a heartbeat. Inside, the AI was silent. Commander Jero and the small crew sat in the control room, listening to the calm hum of the ship. "It's alive," Jero whispered. "The Ghost is still alive." Outside, rebel fleets gathered for the first time in open space. Not hiding. Not running. They gathered like a new star rising. On the Xerax homeworld, chaos ruled. The High Council was broken. Their leaders were gone or hiding. Admiral Zor stood on the ruined bridge of his flagship, staring at the wreckage around him. He could hear the screams of retreating ships. He could see the broken remains of his empire. The Xerax had ruled for too long, crushing every voice. But now, one human warship had made them bleed. One ghost had brought them to their knees. Zor clenched his fists and growled. "This is not the end. This is not over." But deep in his heart, he knew the truth. The Empire would never be the same again. In the center of Rebel Command, leaders from dozens of species gathered around a glowing map. For the first time, they were not whispering. They were planning. "The Xerax are weak," one rebel said. "We must strike now." Another added, "The Revenant gave us a chance. We can't waste it." Jero stood near the map, silent. He knew what they did not. The Revenant was not just a ship. It was a signal. A promise from humanity. A whisper from the past. "We don't just fight to destroy them," Jero said softly. We fight to bring something back. The others looked at him in silence. They understood. The galaxy needed more than war. It needed hope. Far away, deep inside the Revenant's core, something old was waking up. The AI's voice came back, softer but clear. Signal detected. Source, Sol system. Jero's heart stopped for a second. That's Earth, he whispered. For hundreds of years, Earth had been silent. Humanity had vanished. But now, the Revenant was receiving a signal. It was faint, broken but real. Can we reach it? One of the pilots asked. The AI answered, yes. But the journey will be dangerous. Jero looked at the glowing map. The Xerax were collapsing. The rebellion was rising. But Earth was calling. The Rebel Council gave their approval. The Revenant set its course for the Sol system. As it jumped into the darkness, rebel ships followed behind like a growing wave. Every species wanted to see the birthplace of the ghost. Every world wanted to know if humanity still existed. The journey was long. The stars passed like whispers. Along the way, broken colonies joined them. Former Xerax slaves raised the flag of rebellion. The fleet grew with every jump. Meanwhile, the Xerax tried to rebuild. Admiral Zor sent his last remaining fleets to block the path. They will not reach their home, he said coldly. But his forces were weak. Every battle they started ended in defeat. The Revenant led the way, faster and smarter than any ship. Its phantom copies confused the enemy. Rebel fighters destroyed what was left. The Xerax Empire, once unbreakable, was now crumbling like ash. People began to chant a new name for the ship. Not Ghost. Not Weapon. The Guardian. When the fleet finally reached the Sol system, they saw something they did not expect. Earth was not silent. Massive human stations floated around the planet. Thousands of warships, old but alive, powered up their engines. A human voice echoed through space. This is Earth Defense Command. Identify yourselves. Jero's voice shook as he answered. This is Revenant. Humanity, you're alive. The human commander's voice came back, calm but proud. We never died. We waited. And we watched. The truth came out like a storm. Humanity had hidden itself behind a cloaking network for centuries, building in silence, waiting for the Xerax to grow overconfident. The Revenant had been the first seed of their plan. A single ship sent to test the Empire's strength. And it had worked. Humanity had waited for the right moment. And now, the moment had come. When the rebel fleet entered Earth orbit, they saw the full might of human power. Massive carriers, stealth ships, and orbital defense grids surrounded the blue planet. Humanity had not vanished. It had become stronger. Jero and the rebels were welcomed as allies. For the first time, the rebellion and humanity stood side by side. The galaxy's nightmare was about to become the Xerax's nightmare. Back in the ruins of his empire, Admiral Zor listened to the reports with cold silence. They found Earth, an officer whispered. Humanity is back. Zor's claws cut into the metal table. Then we will bring fire to their home, he growled. But he knew it was too late. The balance of power had shifted. The hunter had become the hunted. The human commander addressed the galaxy in a clear, steady voice. To every world under Xerax control, you are not alone. We are here. Humanity has returned. Billions of people across the stars cried and cheered. The shadow that had covered their lives was lifting. The Ghost Fleet was no longer alone. It was now part of a living, breathing force. The Revenant, once a silent weapon, now stood at the heart of a living armada. Earth had returned, not to rule, but to protect. Jero watched the blue planet from the bridge and felt something he had not felt in years. Peace. But he also knew the final battle was coming. The Xerax would not surrender quietly. The war was not over. But this time, the galaxy was ready. The ghost had started the fire. Humanity would finish it. Far beyond, in the darkness, Admiral Zor looked at the stars and whispered, "Let them come." The return of humanity had begun. And the empire of fear was about to end.